Hi, so I just saw the patch 11.10 notes. I was reading through them. I don't normally make videos about this, even though I tend to have pretty strong reactions to the patch notes on my own time. I got to the jungle update, and I decided, no, this needs a video, but we'll go through the whole thing. So first of all, Bard, he gets 10 less damage. Whatever. They say he's been overperforming because he roams too much. But then they decide to not address his roaming. Good job, Riot. Um, they want to give Apprehend more opportunities for a counterattack to farm, but I mean, unless something has changed in the Darius meta, you don't max Apprehend first. So yeah, this will hurt in a team fight. Like, this will hurt mid and late game Darius in a team fight, but it doesn't really affect him smashing you in lane if he ends up smashing you in lane. Like, the parts where Darius is a problem aren't changed by this, and the parts where he's not a problem, he's not really a problem. The Galio change, I think, is probably fine. I was not aware that Darius, or not Darius, Galio maxed W first, but I just checked OPGG and apparently he does, so okay, fine. They made it so Jinx rockets can't just snipe Baron and Dragon anymore, which I think is a little strange. I would consider that to be like one of Jinx's signature perks. So okay, sure, whatever. I guess if you don't want Jinx to be able to do that from across the map, I hope you have plans to make this change for Draven's ult and Ezreal's ult, but no, they probably don't. So I guess Jinx just gets shafted because she happens to be strong right now, which doesn't seem fair to Jinx. They wanted to adjust Katarina's roaming prowess, so they just nerfed her move speed by 5. The champion that teleports, they nerfed the move speed on. And sure, you know, moving across the map affects your roams, but once you add tier 2 boots on top of this, and any masteries like water walking that maybe you're taking for some reason, 5 move speed is not going to matter. Like, Katarina roaming is a problem because of Katarina's resets and damage potential that she brings with her roams. It's not the raw roams itself. Like, her ability to move up across the map is not the problem. She does that around the same as every other champion. And no other champion is like a massive roaming problem. And we'll get to this part about the roaming later on Talon's entry. Kale, I actually didn't read this part. I skipped right over. This is a good bug fix. Kale is too weak in lane. That's just the problem. When they did the Kale rework, I think they made her too weak in lane in exchange for how strong she gets late game. Nice little tiny AP Kennen buff. The thing is, I feel like top lane Kennen tends to go AD more than anything else. So, seems a little strange to me, but I welcome the return of Kennen. Lux E is slightly stronger. Sure, whatever. I hate the Sejuani change. I think it's pretty much identical to what they did with Prowler's Claw last patch. I think if you can't properly hover your cursor over a champion and press E on it, like if you somehow misclick that, then what are you doing? And especially, like, Prowler's Claw is one thing because it's an item active. It's got like a 40-second cooldown or whatever. And if you accidentally use it on the enemy mid laner instead of the enemy AD carry when you're going in, then that could, you know, ruin your day. You might lose the game because you didn't kill them. Whatever. But E has like a half-second cooldown or something. If you miss with Sejuani's E, you can just go hit the other target you meant to hit. It doesn't consume the stacks from other targets, unless they changed that and I missed it. You could just E them both. This is such a non-change that makes no difference for a champion that's already pretty easy to play. Like, I get accessibility is a thing, but like, this didn't have to happen. I am sad that Riot even invested resources towards this. Because now we get to the part I mentioned earlier with Katarina, where the reasoning that they're giving for nerfing Talon's Q is that he roams too much. Which is exactly the same reasoning they gave for Katarina and Bard. But whereas Bard had some of his damage taken away, and Talon's getting some of his damage taken away, why didn't they also take away damage from Katarina instead of a worthless 5 move speed nerf? And notably, Talon's move speed is already 335. So a 5 move speed nerf on Talon is a bigger nerf than a 5 move speed nerf on Katarina. Plus, Talon's E is affected by his move speed. So a 5 move speed nerf might actually affect Talon. Maybe. But it just doesn't make sense to me. Like, you're giving identical reasonings for the Bard, Katarina, and Talon changes, but you're not issuing similar nerfs to address what you say you believe is the core problem. And like, a champion being good at roaming, quote unquote, doesn't necessarily mean you should always hit them with the same type of nerf. But it definitely feels like Riot is not being consistent with this. If anything, I think it's more justified to nerf Katarina's damage and nerf Talon's move speed rather than what they've actually done, which is the other way around. Because Katarina teleports anyway in a fight. Her being able to run quickly to a fight is fine. What matters is that once she's there, she hits like a truck and then resets and keeps hitting you like a truck. Whereas Talon moving across the map is his specialty. I get you don't want to nerf his speed. Same with Bard. But neither of those bring as... Like, you're not really addressing what seems to be the core problem with this. And I also don't think that saying that the roaming is strong means the same thing for Talon, Katarina, and Bard. Bard roams and brings utility. Katarina roams and brings damage. Talon just roams everywhere. He roams way more. So they're all problematically roaming, quote unquote. But you need to address them differently because what they bring with their roams are different. Some minor stat nerfs to Thresh, some buffs to Q. They finally fixed the ally icon bug fix for Yuumi. And also, I just want to shout out whoever wrote these patch notes. I definitely read this phrase as meaning something very toxic at first. And I get the feeling that that was an intentional jab at AD carry players. And I'll just leave it at that. Buffs to Zyra, that's cool, I guess. Another thing is, like, you're nerfing all these assassins for their roams. You'd assume the assassins are roaming bot. You also buffed Zyra, one of the better disengage supports. So, I don't know. It seems like you've done a decent... Like, I don't know. It feels like maybe you're hitting them too hard, but Talon and Katarina are always going to be strong in solo queue, so it's whatever. Abyssal Mask is a little stronger. That's cool. Gore Drinker apparently was weak, even though it keeps getting built by Lee Sins on the pro scene right now. So, this, as far as I know, Senna's the only champion that really builds Guinsoo's. At least regularly. Like, maybe Kayle, but Kale's not a champion. So, sure, whatever. Riftmaker, honestly, does anyone actually build Riftmaker because it has this sort of stacking mechanic? Like, is that the reason you're building Riftmaker? I actually didn't even know it did this, and I've been building Riftmaker on like Katarina, so Phase Rush has been too prevalent. I'm fine with this. Honestly, I feel like the cooldown is a good buff. Good nerf. I think that's fine. Feels like they maybe went a little light on how much speed it gives. I feel like that could be toned down still a little bit more the early levels, but we'll see, we'll see. Now this is the part that I really hate. Not this. This. Riot. Why? What are you doing? Do you not read your own patch notes? I still remember when this mechanic was taken out because it was too toxic for the game. I found this tweet from good old Leandri Salesman where this is from 2019 where he points out that rubber banding is not good for the game because inevitably what ends up happening is not that, oh, a jungler is behind a little bit because their lanes fell behind and now they don't have priority in their jungle so they couldn't farm and we need to help them out. No, that's not how rubber banding gets used by smart players. What happens is they pick extremely hyper aggressive junglers. They camp in lanes and get their lanes far enough ahead off of that, and then now that they're behind in EXP because they just have not been farming their camps at all, they go back and they get the rubber band to catch up. And it makes the enemy jungler, who's been, dutifully farming like a moron, feel bad about the fact that they spent all that time farming when they could have just not done that and played a hyper camper. Like, what is this? Riot, this was removed. You solved this problem. Why did you bring it back? Anyway, so that was as far as I had gotten in the patch notes beforehand. Now I gotta actually read these as I go. Looks like they changed damage on Smite. Wait. Am I an idiot? Maybe they changed this somewhere later on. Wait a second. So they changed it so that Smite now deals 900 instead of 1,000. First of all, why? 1,000 is just such a nice number. It's the 4-digit to 3-digit breakpoint. It's super easy. Come on, it's been 1,000 for so long. Why did you arbitrarily change it to 900? That just feels weird to me. But more importantly, the whole point of the change to Jinx was that she's not supposed to be able to steal objectives from across the map. And sure, it says AoE damage is kept at 800, but the execute against epic monsters is still 1,000, which means that with the new Smite, which is now less than 1,000 damage, did the person who made this change not coordinate with the people who made this change? Riot, hello? Anyway, moving on. They've decided that Omnivamp is not good enough, I guess. Sure, fine, whatever. I'm not a jungler, so I hardly care about these. This probably matters somewhere. They've shifted some gold around. Kind of looks like the gold just went up across the board in exchange for jungle monsters being weaker early and stronger later. Something like that. Also, they said they changed jungle monsters' health to offset this higher smite damage. Do they not understand that 900 is less than 1,000? I mean, I guess, like, it starts off a little higher, and it probably ends up getting to 900 before it normally would have been 900. But I guess, do junglers never hit level 18 in Riot's experience? Do junglers just stop farming the jungle at some point when Riot plays? I guess. Kog'Maw looks pretty nice now. Okay, so there's a bug in the game that Vanderol has pointed out where certain auto attack like abilities or empowered auto attacks don't apply Omnivamp or Physical Vamp as they should. I'm looking specifically to see if that bug has been fixed in this game. Because things like Ezreal Q, Gangplank Q, Fiora Q, the ranged but not the melee version of Samira's Q don't apparently apply healing properly. Let's see. Why wasn't this addressed when they changed Prowler's Claw's targeting last patch? Let's see, Sanguine Blades. So that it accurately displays the amount of healing the user receives. How about fixing the bug where it actually heals people instead? Okay? It's so frustrating when you're playing as Samira and you only have a Vamp Scepter in lane and you want to sustain off of minions by queuing them and you can't because of the bug. It completely changes the lane dynamic when your sustain mechanic just doesn't work. Do-do, do-do-do-do. Sell their trinket. How do you sell a trinket? Do you mean just changing it? Are you able to sell a trinket? Do they mean the support item? Trinkets are not support items. I'm not sure what... But okay, I guess whatever this is fixed. Okay, so no bug fix for the healing thing, so that's still an issue. Arcana Xerath is pretty cool. It's a little bit strange because my understanding is that he gained his powers at the same time he lost his body, so I don't see how that works in lore. But I'm guessing the argumentation is that this is an alternate version of Xerath, so he's not subject to lore. Let's look at Camille. Thick. That is all.